Welcome to Trap Hole Brook in the Neponset River Watershed. I'm Paul Hambury, an environmental fellow at the Neponset River Watershed Association. We're here today at one of the best streams for brook trout in eastern Massachusetts to talk a little bit about why brook trout are known as an indicator species and how trout depend on many different things to go right to successfully survive here. First, brook trout need water that is cold, and what that means is water that typically stays below 20 degrees Celsius, or about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. They also need clean water, free of pollution like road salts, car chemicals, and fertilizers. They also need water that stays relatively clear, with no dirt or other debris, so they can see and navigate these streams. Because brook trout need all these specific conditions to survive, they are known as an indicator species. And what that means is that they reflect the health of the environment they live in, and they're one of the first species impacted by changes to their ecosystem. In other words, the trout population will start to decline if the water temperature gets warmer, if the water becomes more polluted, or if the water becomes cloudier. They are also able to tell us how other, less easily observable species are impacted. Think of brook trout like the canary in the coal mine. If we can keep them happy, other species will be too.
Brook trout also benefit from one more C, connected. Brook trout are highly mobile fish, in some areas even swimming out to sea for part of their life cycle. They also need to find other trout to mate with, and the bigger the population, the more resilient it is to things like droughts, overfishing, or other impacts. Unfortunately, across a lot of the Northeast and our watershed, dams and undersized culverts get in the way of trout moving around and interbreeding, so removing or replacing these would help our fish out immensely. Here at Trap Hole Brook, a small dam was removed in 2022 that has allowed the brook trout to move freely up and down the brook. In the Neponset watershed, we're thrilled that Trap Hole Brook has managed to keep its brook trout population strong, despite the changes that humans have made to the ecosystem. Although it might not look like it here, we're actually right in Greater Boston, with Route 1 and I-95 just upstream. While a lot of that success has to do with residents, towns, and organizations like NEPRA and Greater Boston Trout Unlimited working together to prioritize the health of the brook, it is also related to groundwater. Trap Hole Brook has many small springs where cold groundwater can seep up into the stream, lowering the water temperature and creating cold pockets for trout to seek refuge on hot days.
The biggest challenges the Trap Hole Brook faces today is from climate change and overdevelopment. Shifting climate patterns means less rain in the summer, hotter days, and drought, which dries out those cold water springs. At the same time, new development in our watershed means fewer trees and more impervious surfaces, which carries hot polluted water into the brook. So, what can we do to protect streams like Trap Hole Brook? We can conserve drinking water, which keeps cold groundwater flowing into the stream. We can promote green infrastructure, which catches pollutants and cools road runoff before it enters the brook. And we can remove outdated dams that disconnect fish populations. Brook trout are living on the edge in eastern Massachusetts, and it's up to us to ensure that they survive for future generations.